Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's a new homework video. We're running just a little bit late tonight so that we can accommodate Miss Norway over here. We have Rita Marie from Rita Marie Stitching Adventures on FlossTube.
Hi.
It's going to be kind of a quick one because what we're focusing on is groups that we both do. And Rita Marie has decided to limit her focus this year. Do you have a reason for that?
Yes, I do. I have a confirmation dress I'm making for my niece. So I have 1 year to get that done, embroider the whole thing. So yeah, I have had to limit everything cross-stitching to try and get that dress done in time.
So you're just kind of giving yourself limited amount of stitching and then stitching on the dress, or do you have some sort of rotation?
What I have ended up with is a rotation that the first week of the month, I'm just gonna focus on cross stitching, and in the cross stitching, I'm focused on the 4 whips I'm doing for the zombie run in daily 30. And then the rest of the time will be mostly stitching on the dress, with just in the evenings when I'm really tired and I can't really do embroidery, I will do cross stitching instead.
Awesome. All right, so with that, we're going to start off with magical stitches weekly homework. And it was released a little later tonight, but it is out now. And this week we are working on spelling out the word demigod using objects you can find in your stitching. So, for example, D, maybe there's a daughter, or I'm blanking, a doll, anything that would begin with a D, except you can't use the alphabet. So like if the word is in there, you can't use the letters. But or descriptive words like short and tall, things that are opinion based. But if it's used to describe it in that's obvious, like if something's white and you say ivory, that's a different term for the same thing. So that does work. Does that make sense? So do you have yours planned out, Rita, or?
No, not at all. I'm struggling with a few of the letters. Mostly, it would have been a problem if I used all my projects because I have a lot of them this year. But since I'm limited to 4 projects, I have a 5th one that I can use if it's really, really difficult. Then I'm struggling with a few of the letters.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't really had a chance to look. Because I have my 4 for zombie run, which we'll go over in just a minute. And then I've got 2 others that I can work on this week, and that's Miss Christmas Eve and Growth Rings. So Growth Rings doesn't have a lot in it to really choose from, because it's like a mandala type thing.
Yeah.
Miss Christmas Eve, I mean, she has green on her dress, and that's obvious. I mean, it's green. Okay, D. I might have to use Anzac for D. Do you have one you're focusing on this week specifically, or?
I'm gonna do Alice. Current progress. She's sleeping on a clock. So that one is the one I'm mainly focusing on. I can't pull it up. I have it right here.
Yeah, so Alice is a daughter. She also looks like a sleeping doll. So, I mean, you can kind of go either way there. E.
E for eyes.
Yes. Yeah.
The one I'm mainly struggling with is I think. The letter I.
Right.
Would you say, I don't know, I don't know if she has ivory skin? Because there is some very you use like those very, very off-white colors in her skin while stitching. That's why I thought of ivory skin.
Or even I think that the rabbit could be described as ivory, because I mean he's not white. He's like off-white.
Yeah.
The word iridescent just keeps sticking in my mind and I can't get it out. Yeah. And sometimes you have to look, you could always say those leaves are ivy, because they do kind of do like a vine type of, like the way.
Ivy leaves, yeah.
So sometimes, like, look up the names of flowers. Is there a name of a flower that those could resemble? I think the flamingo is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah. Maybe search up what kind of type of mushroom this can be, something like that.
Yeah, there might be a mushroom that starts with an I. Because even though obviously those flowers are roses, right? Because that's the Alice story. Even if you can call it a different type of flower, we'll take it. We'll take it. Just explain. So, yeah, I think that works. So you were able to get everything but I?
No.
M, you got mouth. G? Well, there's glass on the front of the watch.
Yeah, glass.
O?
O.
Okay, I'm struggling a little bit with the O.
Yeah, me too. Usually when I do the letter ones, I usually sit with Google in front of me and search up names for different stuff, because a lot of the time I don't know the name since my main language is Norwegian. So sometimes it's hard to know, like, the things on the clock that shows the time. Like, I don't know exactly what the name in English is for those. Like, so I search up things like that to see if I then can find a letter I need.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I don't have my stuff ready to go, so I'm a slacker today. So, but basically, and Vicky does have a question thread up this week, and if you have like a picture of what you want to stitch on and you need some help deciding, you know, what letter could be found and yada yada, there's a post for that. So if you have any questions, anybody on the group can kind of help you out there, because you'd be amazed what other people can see that you do not, you know?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to daily 30. Because that was really it for magical stitches. It's 1,600 stitches total, because I think it's 200 for each letter. And it's, again, it's kind of laid back. Do as much as you can, do as little as you want. There's no penalty for not completing it all. It's all to see everybody's stitching style.
Question about the Magical School of Stitches that most likely people will ask. In Demigods, there are, the letter D happens twice. Can you use the same word for both of those letters? Or do you have to find two things with the letter D?
I think I hadn't run this one past Vicky, but typically we require two different things. But if, like, for example, if you had two E's and you use ears, you could use like the left ear for one and the right ear for the other. So if you're finding something with D, maybe there's more than one of it in the thing that you can use. But they do typically require that they be different. So, Of course, Vicky's trying to make it really easy this week, so she may take the same one for both, just you have to do different stitches. I will check with her and make sure we put a post up, because that's a good question. I was under the impression when we discussed homework that we were going to be using pattern names, not items in the design. So I wasn't prepared when homework came out, and I was like, whoa, it changed.
Yeah.
All right. So for Daily 30, which is a closed group, you cannot join just yet. So, don't ask. We have a yearly event called the Zombie Run. And in order to participate in this yearly event, you had to announce or declare 4 whips to work on. So I was hoping Rita Marie would show us what 4 whips she's focusing on this year.
So one of them you already saw, it's the Alice. Then I'm focusing on the baby blanket, which is this one. And Cinderella by Mirabilia. And last, Minnie's Still Here by Hade.
Very nice. So in Zombie Run, we have to touch on each one of those 4 focus pieces within the month. And then the rest of the stitches that you need can come from whichever one or a combination of them. And that's why you're allowing yourself that first week of full stitching?
Yeah, that's correct. You know me too well.
It's funny because I'm doing the same thing. I told myself week 1 of the month, I'm going to try and touch on all 4 of them. That way in consecutive weeks, I could just pick one to work on. So I don't know if I showed mine last week, so I'm going to show them this week. And I was actually stitching on this one. And this is my mini Phantom of the Masquerade. It's a Heaven and Earth design that has like a cat and stuff. I also have Dinah's the Trick and the Treat, which is my closest to a finish. So I have a feeling by March I may be replacing this one. Lady of the Flag and Anzac from Long Dog Samplers. So those are my 4 that I'm focusing on. All right, so then we have the weekly. I didn't pull it up. And this week is What's the Tea? Oh, man. I lost internet for a minute.
Yeah, I saw you suddenly froze, and I was like, isn't my internet being the problem? No?
On Facebook, and it says you don't have internet. I was like, no. Okay, so where did I freeze at?
You had just shown Dinah's the Trick and the Treat, and you said that was closest to a finish. So we are missing the last 2.
Okay. So I also have Lady of the Flag. My glare there. And Anzac from Long Dog Samplers.
Nice.
So those are my 4 focuses for this year. And, we had 3 focuses last year for the scavenger hunt, and I felt like I got so much work done on those pieces. I'm not good at being monogamous, but apparently I could be trinogamous.
Yeah. Yeah, I had the same thing. Like, the scavenger hunt really pushed me to finish the Epic Pokemon one.
Mm-hmm.
And I even got some really, really good progress on the baby blanket. So that one is actually, I think, the closest one to a finish right now, which is like very overwhelming in a way, because I never thought I would get done with that baby blanket because it has been hard to stitch on.
Yeah, because it's a stamped cross stitch, isn't it?
Yes, it's a stamped cross stitch. There is no holes. And since it's stamped on, like, there is a pattern, like it's already quilted. So the stamp, sometimes the crosses, one part of the leg is crooked. And how do you get, like, a leg of a stitch to be crooked without...
That's
it's
not fun.
difficult. Let's just say that.
Okay, so this week's weekly in Daily 30 is What's the Tea? And it says, according to legend, tea was discovered in 2737 BC by Chinese Emperor Shang Nung. It is said he discovered the beverage when tea leaves accidentally blew into his pot of hot boiling water. Stitch on a whip that has two things in the design that can be combined to form something else. This one I found difficult.
Yeah, me too. Like, one of the things I thought maybe I would do. So this is the fifth whip I can pull out if I need to, because I also need to finish this one. This will be subbed in when one of the zombie runs are done. It's it's called A Year Down Under. So I have leaves and I have water, and if you combine leaves and water, you can get tea. But that's basically only one I could think of, and it's because the name of the week is like tea.
What's the tea? Yeah. And actually I can do that same thing with Anzac. But what else? Man, like even not thinking about my whip, like just thinking about in general. I'm not I'm really at a loss for this one.
Yeah.
Because my whole idea is that we would kind of talk it out, but then I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, the only things I can think about is like if you have a pole of some kind and a ball, you can make that into a game.
Mm-hmm.
Like with this one, I have wheat.
Mm-hmm.
And I have eggs.
Mm-hmm.
And if I mix them together, I can bake a cake.
Yeah. Oh, I just had a thought. Where'd it go? Oh, a thought. Okay. I have growth rings, right? And I don't necessarily think I feel like maybe there are two things that are already combined to make this big thing. So could you say like the circles and then the diamonds form the entire piece? Could you kind of do it in reverse and break it apart? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what you mean. I have no clue if that will get approved, but maybe, like, who knows?
Maybe it doesn't have to make something that makes sense. Just that,
yeah.
Okay, well, you've got this middle piece, this X-like figure, and then you have the four almost making like a cross, and the two together make this one big picture. Maybe. It's a thought. That's what we do here. We try and think outside the box. We should preface to say that we don't have the answers. This is and I know Cheryl's group doesn't take questions and things like that typically, unless you want to ask other members of the community, but they don't like approve projects. So me personally, I would probably take that chance, and then if I didn't get the points, I didn't get the points. It's all good.
Yeah.
But never been in that situation though.
Yeah. One thing I also was thinking, which is a very like more a thing you can make that is easy to find the items in the pattern. If you have like a branch on a, like you have a tree, you have a branch, and you have some clothing, you can use that to make a flag. Like if you need to wave for help, or if you just like a white flag waving that up in the air. I think that is something that is a little bit easier to find in patterns, because usually patterns have a tree in it and some dresses or something else.
Yeah. Or like trees and flowers, you can build a garden.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So there's a few little different takes on it. If you have anything else for us, feel free to let us know. But that one is one of the more difficult ones. Even though it's broad, it's almost too broad. You almost kind of lose yourself in all the possibilities. Okay, number 2. And stitches for this one this week are 100 or 300. There are several different types of tea, including black, oolong, green, and white. They all come from the leaf of the same plant, Camellia sinensis. But the difference lies in how the leaves are processed after harvesting. Stitch with black, brown, green, or white thread in any combination you choose on the same piece. Include stitch counts for each color you chose to use on your post. So this one's pretty straightforward. You need those 4 colors or one of the 4 colors, either way, and stitch your full amount of stitches in those colors. So for me, I'm going to be stitching on Miss Christmas Eve, and she has a lot of green in her dress. So that works for the green. I'll probably just stick with greens, get the 100 stitches knocked out. But then that also works with my magical stitches where I said green for the letter G.
Yeah. I'm a person that usually don't like to jump ahead when I'm stitching on my project. So you can see like even a project like this, I'm parking because I stitched top down. So my thinking of this is that prompt will be one of the very last ones I do because I am planning on stitching a lot on Alice, at least a lot, how much I can get done. So I will do this prompt the very last thing I do, because then I can do back stitching, and all the back stitching is in black and it has a lot of back stitching. So already there is some back stitching I can do without issues, but if I get even more on here, I can do even more back stitching and make sure I get 600 back stitches because that equals 300 stitches.
Right. And the other thing too is, okay, so that's her zombie piece. And if she chooses to start on like zombie run, she does those 400 stitches, then she goes to homework and then does the stitches for homework. She cannot cross those. She can't double dip them in the same group. I know that that can get confusing because like semi-sane allows you to double dip with everything. Magical stitches, it's only the headmistress challenge, and then daily 30, there's no double dipping unless you get to a certain level on zombie run. So just because she's using one project for the whole week doesn't necessarily mean she's trying to double dip across those.
Yeah, like last week, like when I sit down with a project, I usually sit down for 2 or 3 or 4 days with one project before switching. So in the zombie run, you have to touch all your projects before you can go over to the extreme version of the zombie run. So I had to actually do other prompts in weekly or monthly so that I wouldn't do too many stitches on the zombie run, the main part of the zombie run, because I still had some projects I needed to do to get like those first milestone in the zombie run.
All right. Okay. Herbal tea blends don't contain any actual tea leaves, which is why they're usually caffeine free. They're concoctions of different herbs, spices, and other plants like chamomile, hibiscus, and mint. These herbal drinks are technically not teas at all, but rather something called tisane. Put stitches into a piece that has leaves or mint in the design.
I'm impressed if people have mints in their design, because even that one I think I'm struggling with.
Yeah. Well, and mint is actually a type of leaf, or I mean, it's an herb.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would, to be that specific, but I mean, mint taken another way could mean peppermint. So like if you have a candy cane or an actual little peppermint, that would still count as mint. Otherwise, pretty straightforward. You need something with leaves.
Leaves. I think that's the easiest one to try and get. Something with leaves.
Yeah. I have a few things. But Miss Christmas Eve, I'm pretty sure has leaves on her. Because my thing is I'm trying not to use my zombie pieces because I can't double dip. So
yeah, that's the thing. If I don't want to use my zombie pieces, I usually will use this one. So that's also a thing. I could work on the green border for green for the last prompt. There is leaves in this design.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, and look here in growth rings. We've got leaves.
Yeah, it had leaves.
So also looks like there might be an acorn in the middle of there. Huh. Okay. So that one's pretty straightforward. Not a lot we can interpret there. Okay, next. Grown in the Himalayas, where the perfect climate for growing Camellia sinensis exists, Darjeeling is often referred to as the champagne of teas. The Rocky Mountain terrain makes it difficult to harvest as pickers must battle the cold, the steep terrain, mists, and heavy rains. Stitch on a whip that has something that can be picked in the design. So a flower.
Yeah, your growth rings where the leaf was, it was also a flower, so you can use that one.
Yeah, you can pick a leaf, you can pick a flower, you can pick fruit.
Mushrooms?
Mushrooms. I'm trying to think.
Like, I'm also thinking, can you bend it like this way? Like this section right here has different kinds of chocolate. Can you like pick the chocolate you like the best?
So
like one of the chocolates?
Yeah, because I know like when I get those Valentine's Day boxes, I really like the one with strawberry in the middle. So of course I'm going to pick those first. So I would just say that if I had those chocolates, I would say I'm going to pick the one that I like the best out of these chocolates.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, so really if you word it correctly, you could do just about anything.
You really can with that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, recent studies suggest that tea, especially green tea, helps reduce some forms of cancer, helps bad breath, reduces the risk of cardiovascular disease, reduces blood pressure, helps with weight control, kills bacteria and virus, acts as an anti-inflammatory, and has neuroprotective power. Wow. Stitch on a piece that has something in the design that be considered helpful in some way.
Chocolate is helpful.
Yes, chocolate is helpful, but your watch is helpful too.
Chocolate is a necessity.
Your watch is helpful too because it tells time.
Yeah, a watch tells time. On the a year down under, there is a truck. A truck is helpful if you want to drive somewhere. A tree can be helpful if it's sunny outside because then you can get shade. Like you can find some kind of shade to get away from the sun a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sun is helpful because it, gives us vitamins that we need if you happen to have sunshine in your thing. Umbrellas.
Rain is helpful because it makes the ecosystem go round so it's livable for people on the planet. Plants
are helpful because they help turn carbon dioxide into oxygen.
Exactly.
You can just go with just about anything. And that's what I kind of like about Cheryl's group is there's a little bit of leaves where that's pretty straightforward. And then there's a little bit that can be interpreted really well. The ones like the first one where you have to combine two things, that's rare. The level on that one is rare.
Yeah, but even the one where you combine two things, like when you just sit and think about it, like really think about it, suddenly things pop out. Like the flag thing. If you have a branch and if you have some clothing, you can make a flag. Like,
yeah. Well, and if you ever get stumped, you can always post a picture and ask for help. I mean, the community is allowed to help you. We just don't get anything approved by the admins. Also, you're really working on a piece you don't think can fit at all. Put an extra 100 stitches into it and call it alternate stitches, and you've still completed that prompt.
So. Yeah, and even if you think one prompt just sounds too much of a hassle to think about, put in 100 extra stitches and you don't need to think about it. You can just stitch.
Right. And I mean, what whip that we work on couldn't use another 100 stitches? I mean, you're going to do it anyway. Yeah. And the last thing for Daily 30, of course, is the non-counting challenge. You just stitch on it for 30 minutes a day and you're good, which I forgot to do yesterday. So I'm going to have to really get on that on Friday or tomorrow. Today. Oh my goodness. What day of the week is it? Okay. So that's all we have for Daily 30 weekly. Also in Semi-Sane right now, they have 2 events going on. The first is the Snowball Event. I know we discussed this last week. It's super simple. You post a start picture. After 300, you post an ending picture, and then you get a snowball that you can throw at someone else. So it's a lot of fun and just a place to throw your extra stitches. You're already putting them in Daily 30 and Magical Stitches. I mean, how hard is it to get a snowball? The other one they have going right now is Choose My Whip. It's a new week, so we have new choices. I put up to have them choose between Anzac and Dinah's the Trick and the Treat. I always choose my zombie pieces, my focus pieces, and that way, either way, whatever they pick is something I need or want to work on. And they chose Anzac, like 22 to 17 Anzac. So, and you're not in either of those events, correct, Rita?
No, I'm just in Semi-Sane this month. I'm only doing January Focus Challenge, where you have picked like one whip that you're gonna stitch on, and you have to do at least 1,000 stitches. And of course, when I took all the pictures at the beginning of the year, I forgot to write down the word for that challenge. So I did 1,000 stitches and realized I didn't have the word in the starting picture. So yeah, I have to do another 1,000 stitches on Mini Still Here.
Oh, you didn't do Alice? I'm a little surprised since you've been focused on Alice lately.
Yeah, like Alice is more to get a break from Mini Still Here. I'm still in the background. It gets really hard. There is a lot of those gray colors. There is a lot of pink and green, and when you stitch on it, suddenly they merge together and it all looks gray, and that can be hard to stitch on. So yeah, but I need to focus on Mini Still Here, because I'm also doing that for Full Coverage Fanatic. They have that 21 and 21, so you have to do 2,100 stitches in 2021. So that's why I'm using Mini Still Here, because of that.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So, one other thing that we are starting this year is kind of seeing each person that comes to visit us. How do you plan? How do you keep track of the groups that you're doing? Do you have any special method for keeping it all straight?
This year, I have gone above and beyond making spreadsheets. So, if I can get it to show. So what I have this year is I have like an overview spreadsheet that takes the information from all the other spreadsheets I have made and put them into one. But what I mainly are doing is that I usually have one project I'm stitching on at a time. So I have this project right here. Here I track the hours, the stitching on this one project. And on the side, you can see I have all the different prompts I'm using this for. And I keep a running total of what stitch count I need to reach for the next prompt. And here I can see like how how much I need to stitch to get to that point. And usually what I do, like, I have just a few things I'm focusing on this year. So mainly I'm just doing the zombie run, and if I have to do something else like I did last week, or just I feel like now I have stitched enough on the zombie run, I'm gonna do another challenge. I can just put it. I just go on my phone. I have everything saved on Facebook. Into the post, I will look through like, okay, what is this weekly events in daily 30? And it's like, okay, this, oh yeah, it's what's the mint and leaves prompt. That one I can do. I have something with leaves, and I will do that prompt. So I kind of use a mix between my spreadsheet to keep track of the stitches I'm currently doing, especially when double dipping between the different groups. And then I just use the phone to see which prompt I'm gonna do.
Okay. I do something kind of similar, but less digital. Because I have this planner thingy. And I do what you said, where I sit down with my saved posts and I say, okay, what can I fit this whip into? And then I come here and I fold the pages. So I'll write Miss Christmas Eve, daily 30, it'll work for task number 2. In magical stitches, like it would work for M or whatever. And then for semi-sane, of course, any of them is going to work for the snowball. And I actually kind of wrote the prompts out here so I could reference them a little bit faster. And this is my focus for daily 30, the 30 minutes a day. And so I've been writing them out like that. I have all this room and I'm using this much. So I think the way I write it may change eventually once I can get my brain fully wrapped around it. And then at the end of the day, I will come here and I will write exactly how many stitches I got total on each.
Okay, yeah, nice.
So that, especially because when I go at the end of the week to fill my floss tube, I'm like, what did I work on this week? Especially like last week, I worked on 6 things. So you get a little overwhelmed with, and this many groups and everything. Right now, it's kind of calm. Crystal Academy is not doing anything. And I too have kind of limited my focus a little bit more this year because I'm doing magical stitches, daily 30, some things in semi-sane, not everything. And Crystal Academy, when it starts back up, I used to do enchanted stitches and full coverage fanatics, and there's so many groups out there, and I tried to participate in everything. But eventually you learn not every group is for you. Some groups have stuff you really like and some don't, and you have to find what works best for you and stick to that. So
yeah, that's the thing, because even though a group can sound really fun, like that's your thing, how the prompts are made can that's the main thing that affects you, and you don't know how that affects you until you have tried them. Like some prompts, like if there is a lot of those stitch on the color green or stitch on the color black, those are usually not prompts for me. When there's just a few every now and then, like in daily 30, it's fine. I can get around that. I can manage that. But if it's groups that has a lot of those things, I just have found they're not for me at all.
Yeah. And highly competitive groups, I mean, they may work for you even like if you're a teacher, it's easier to do that stuff during the summer, but then when school starts, it's not feasible. So maybe there's even groups out there that work for you some times of the year and not other times. Semi-sane's a great one there because each month they do something different. So January and February, they may not have anything that interests you, but then come March, all of a sudden they have 2 or 3 events that you want to participate in. So semi-sane is a great one for if you want to dip your toe in a little bit of everything. I feel like they're the most versatile group. Remember that if you are planning on joining Semi-Sane Stitchers, that you need to, one, answer where you found them, either from Sammy J Stitches or from Rita Marie Stitching Adventure, and include the word Wonderland. That's the code word or password they're going to ask for in the questions. Make sure you answer all of the questions, and then they will let you in. And there's lots of good stuff coming up. I'm so looking forward to Stitchopoly next month. I like some of the changes they've made. So we've got a lot to look forward to this year, and it's just slowly ramping up. I know, especially in Magical Stitches, we're moving kind of slow because we want everybody to get adjusted, and then in February we're going to start all the things. So it's going to be really cool. Also, if you're ever interested in Zooming with people like Rita Marie, myself, or a bunch of other wonderful Stitchers, Virtual Stitchers is open and accepting people, and you can Zoom anytime. You just pop in the room, and if nobody is there, then you shout in the group and you say, hey, I'm on Zoom. Anybody want to come chat with me? And a lot of times you'll get many responses. So Virtual Stitchers is another fun group on Facebook that is run by me.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that's it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.